Let me ask you something. When you watch Barcelona this season, what do you actually see? Because 1 minute, they are absolutely destroying teams, tearing apart La Liga with more than 70 goals so far in this season, sitting comfortably at the top of the table. And then, the very next week, Chelsea walks into Stamford Bridge and beats them 3-0 like it is a pre-season friendly. Just like that. The same team that looks completely unstoppable on a Saturday is falling apart on a Tuesday night in Europe. And nobody has a proper explanation. It is not just the results either. It is the money situation, the contracts, the future that nobody can agree on. Barcelona right now might be the most confusing club in world football. And today, we are going to break down exactly why nobody understands them. Let's start with what is happening on the pitch, because this is where it gets genuinely weird. On paper, this Barcelona squad is extraordinary. First in La Liga, more than 20 wins so far. They have not lost a single home game all season, not one in La Liga. Lamine Yamal, at 18 years old, is playing like he has been doing this for a decade. Rafinha is in the form of his life. Flick has built a team that presses high, moves fast, and plays with real joy and belief. Against Real Madrid in the Supercopa de España final earlier this season, they were completely dominant. Some weeks, they genuinely looked like the best team in Europe. No contest. And the Newcastle result just proved that. They drew 1-1 away at St James's Park in the first leg, Yamal scoring a penalty deep in stoppage time to deny Newcastle a famous win. And then, in the second leg at Camp Nou, Barcelona tore Newcastle apart 7-2 to advance 8-3 on aggregate. Yamal became the youngest player in history to reach 10 Champions League goals, just 18 years and 248 days old. The first 15 minutes of the second half should be taught as a class. It was absolutely sublime stuff, as Barcelona tore apart Newcastle's man-marking system with a combination of passing variety and off-ball movement that completely destroyed them. On nights like that, they are untouchable. But here is the thing, and this is where the paradox kicks in. That same team, earlier in the Champions League phase, lost 1-2 to PSG at home and got hammered 3-0 by Chelsea away. The Chelsea defeat ended a 53-game consecutive scoring streak, the longest in Barcelona's entire history. Club Brugge held them to a 3-3 draw, and the first leg against Newcastle itself, a draw away against a team that took the lead in the 86th minute, was not exactly convincing either. So what is actually going on? At the Camp Nou, in front of their own crowd, Barcelona are almost impossible to beat. The atmosphere, the structure, the belief, it all clicks. But the away form, and the inconsistency against sides who press high and hit on the counter has been a real problem all season. Even in the 7-2 win, Barcelona were too vulnerable at the back and still wasteful up front for large stretches of the first half. Newcastle exposed the high defensive line repeatedly before the second half took over. That is not a small detail. Barcelona now face Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals, a team that will absolutely punish those same gaps if Flick does not find an answer. The talent is real, the potential is real, but so is the inconsistency. Alright, let us talk about the money, because this is where Barcelona really becomes difficult to read. Last year, the club announced they had reduced their debt to 469 million euros, 90 million less than before. They told the world the worst was over. Their wage bill dropped back within UEFA limits. And in January 2026, La Liga president Javier Tebas confirmed Barcelona were very close to returning to the 1-to-1 spending rule, but had not yet officially been granted it, with the club reportedly still 14 million euros away from the required threshold, meaning for every euro they raise, they can now spend it freely soon. Joan Laporta was practically declaring a new golden era. If you read the headlines, Barcelona are basically back. Sounds like recovery complete, right? Not even close. Here is what they quietly left out of the official press release. Barcelona's total debt right now sits at 1.958 billion euros. Add the ongoing Spotify Camp Nou renovation costs on top of that, and economists estimate the combined figure could eventually reach 3.5 billion euros. Let that number actually sit with you for a moment. They still owe 159 million euros to other clubs in unpaid transfer fees from previous windows. And while their salary cap technically increased by 81 million euros, their actual wage bill is still estimated at over 500 million, which means it continues to exceed the allowed limit. On top of everything, UEFA fined them 15 million euros for excessive financial losses. And here is the nasty part. Another 45 million euros is hanging over them conditionally. Miss their financial targets over the next 2 seasons, and that full 60 million euro fine lands without warning. No mercy. So is Barcelona fixed? They are stabilizing, yes, but they are absolutely not free. The headlines say recovered. The balance sheet says tread very carefully. Now, here is the chapter that nobody really wants to discuss, but it might be the most important one of all. Who exactly is Barcelona right now, and where are they genuinely heading? At the end of this season, Lewandowski's contract expires. He turns 38 before next season even begins. But the man who was supposed to be leaving might actually be staying. Why? Because Barcelona genuinely has no reliable plan B at striker. Ferran Torres has scored just 16 goals this season, playing as a central forward. He is a decent player, but he is not a number 9. That is your backup option. That is literally it. And it is not just Lewandowski. Ronald Araujo is not leaving at all. He actually signed a contract extension with the club until 2031 and has recently said he wants to stay and fight for titles. Meanwhile, Andreas Christensen's future is genuinely uncertain, with reports saying Barcelona offered him a new deal, but he has not decided yet. Marc Casado, on the other hand, is not being reported as a departure at all right now. So instead of 3 guaranteed exits, what Barcelona are really facing is something much more complicated. One key defender staying long-term, one whose future is still unclear, and a young midfielder the club still sees as part of the squad. To bring in a proper world-class striker to replace Lewandowski, reports say Barcelona will need to sell a major player first. Names like Rafinha, Gavi, and Fermin Lopez are being considered as potential departures to generate the necessary funds. So they could end up losing their most dangerous wide player just to afford a striker. That is the actual situation at the club right now. The rebuild is clearly centered around youth and the future. But those young players need experience and leadership beside them. And right now, all that experience is heading out the door at once. It is exciting and terrifying at the same time. Nobody, not the fans, not the pundits, and maybe not even the board themselves, truly knows what Barcelona is building toward. A fearless young squad ready to dominate the next decade, or a club stuck between 2 eras, making reactive decisions because the budget simply will not allow the dream ones. Barcelona are not broken, but they are not fixed either. They are something in between brilliant one week, completely baffling the next. And honestly, that is exactly what makes them the most fascinating and confusing club on the planet right now.